Smosh, PewDiePie, Jenna Marbles, Niga Higa, and Swoozy. What emotion do you feel after I said the names of those YouTubers? Is it happiness? Joy? Nostalgia? These are all emotions I personally feel, and that's because old YouTube was awesome and is so much better than YouTube in the present. Well, actually, hold up. When we talk about the best eras of YouTube, I think we tend to resort to whichever era we watched as a kid, and I am certainly guilty of this myself. I mean, is YouTube really any worse or better than it was 10 or more years ago? Well, I am here to figure that out and to finally declare which era truly was better. To do this, I will go over multiple tests and see which era scores higher in them. And at the end of the video, whoever wins the most tests will be crowned the better era of YouTube, and this debate will finally be settled. So stick around, as the final result may just surprise you. Before the first test, we have to define what old and new YouTube even are. For the purposes of this video, old YouTube will be from 2009 to 2014, whereas new YouTube will start from 2019 to 2024. And before you get angry in the comments, I realize that YouTube started in 2005, but those super early years lacked a big enough sample size, so that's why I'm starting in 2009 instead of 2005. Y'all got it? Good, now we can start. The first test of the video will be the broad appeal of each respective era, and what I mean by this is how accessible the top content creators were for everybody and not just a specific group. When we look back at old YouTube, what we find is just how one-dimensional some of the top content creators really were. I mean, PewDiePie back then was solely doing gaming, Ryan Higa just did skit videos, and Jenna Marbles was just doing vlogging content. Three separate genres dominated by three different creators. But when you compare that to a creator like Mr. Beast, who'll make any type of video regardless of genre, I mean, it really just seems like a lopsided competition, and that's because it is. It's very clear that the top content creators nowadays make much more broad content and are not stuck to one genre. I give old YouTube a 4 out of 10 and new YouTube an 8 out of 10, which means that new YouTube wins this test and starts out with a 1-point lead over old YouTube. The second test will be how much creativity there is in each respective era. In old YouTube, even though creators would usually stick to just one genre of content, that didn't mean that they wouldn't push their genres to their absolute limit. As you have to remember, back in those days, there wasn't a structure in how to do gaming content, vlogging content, or skit content. As remember, these genres were relatively new at the time compared to nowadays, where some of the same genres are almost 20 years old. Also, during the old YouTube era, you saw a lot more personality in the content compared to the almost manufactured personas of many top creators in the present. On top of everything already said, at the time monetization was complicated or not really a thing yet, so creators back then posted content not knowing it could be a career, which definitely helped the overall creativity back in that era. In today's era, a lot of creativity is watered down, as it seems like every good idea is copied and done like 100 times by half the creators on the platform. But to the credit of new YouTube, the actual ideas that are copied turn out to be very entertaining videos and very creative in their own way. Now, despite all the copying, over-edited videos, and lack of personality, you have to remember that YouTube is still a platform where anybody can upload what they want and not have to rely on institutions like Hollywood to get approval to air their content. So in that perspective, YouTube will always be at least somewhat creative no matter what era we're in, and even though new YouTube is oversaturated by repetitive content, there are still many talented creators on the platform. Their creativity is just being overshadowed at the moment. I give old YouTube a 9.5 out of 10 and new YouTube a 7 out of 10, which means that old YouTube wins this test and ties up the score at 1 apiece. For the final test, I will go over the top trends and genres at the time to determine which ones were more entertaining and meaningful for the viewer. In old YouTube, you had gaming, skits, and vlogging videos dominating the space, with trends such as MLG edited gaming videos, the Harlem Shake, the Ice Bucket Challenge, and YouTube Poops, just to name a few of them. It was awesome that certain trends and challenges would unite the internet and have everyone from the biggest content creators to the smallest YouTubers participating in them. Also, during old YouTube, you had YouTube Rewind, which would act as a crossover episode of everybody's favorite creators and overall just really connected the community, whether you were a viewer or a creator. In contrast to this, new YouTube has top genres that are much different than old YouTube, with skits pretty much going extinct, vlogging not being what it used to be, and gaming content still being popular, but definitely not nearly as popular as it once was. The biggest genres of new YouTube are challenge videos, video essays, and short-form content. If you compare these genres to old YouTube, you will soon realize that even if the entertainment value is still there, the personal connection we felt with these creators is all but gone for the most part, as efficiency and production are valued far more than they ever have before. In terms of trends as well, you almost never see a challenge sweep across the platform like it did back in the day. And that's not to say there's not big events that connect creators and viewers, like MrBeast's Team Trees and Seas or Ryan Trahan's 30-Day Penny Survival series. But these events happen less frequently, and the creator-viewer relationship is definitely lacking. I give old YouTube a 9 out of 10 and new YouTube a 7.5 out of 10, which means that old YouTube wins this test and takes a 2-1 lead over new YouTube to secure the win. So I guess it's settled. Old YouTube is much better than new YouTube, and we can all go home and... Okay, I'll cut the funny business. Obviously this list I made was subjective to me and my experiences, but at the very least, I think it serves as a good place to start when comparing these eras, as even though old YouTube was better in my opinion, if you count up the actual scoring of the two, the new YouTube was only down by 1 score compared to old YouTube, which means that all in all, they're pretty close in terms of overall enjoyment. So to end off this video, I do think that old YouTube was better, and I stand by that. But I think nostalgia throws off our judgment, as it's actually pretty close, and new YouTube isn't as bad as people say it is, especially if you find the right creators.